good evening, everyone, for everybody who is joining us from US here, and good morning to everybody from India. Our amazing faculty, several of them are here today. So welcome to University of Silicanandra. These webinars that we are doing in summer 2020. This is the third one in the series, and today's topic is Yakshaganam, music, literature, and choreography. And the three professors representing the Kuchipudi department, Dr. Anupama Kailash Garu, Dr. Sumitra Veluri, and Dr. Yamini Kurati. All three of them are from Department of Kuchipudi, University of Silicanandra. The University of Silicanandra is established 4 years ago. We are offering courses, master's, diploma, and certificate courses in 5 departments. Kuchipudi dance and Carnatic music as masters also. The other 3 departments, Telugu department, Sanskrit, and Bharatanatyam have diploma and certificate at this time. And we intend to add masters also very soon in the other departments too. So our university website is universityofsilicanandra.org. If you have any further information that you need, please go visit our website. And you have some contact information there. If you have any questions, you could talk to us. So I have muted everybody. If you have any questions, you can raise hand. The first half of that would be the talk by the professors, all 3 of them, one after another, followed by the questions and answer session. So I welcome you all again, and I will hand the floor over to Dr. Anupama Kailash Garu. Anupama Garu, please take it forward, madam.
Namaskaram, everyone. And on the behalf of Kuchipudi department, we all welcome you here for this webinar. And it's absolutely our pleasure and honor that myself, Dr. Sumitra Veluri, and Dr. Yamini Kurati today are going to present in 3 parts to you a webinar related to the format called the Yakshaganam. So we have planned it this way for you. The first 20-25 minutes, I speak about the literature of the Yakshaganam, followed by Sumitra Veluri discussing the musical aspect and the musicality of the Yakshaganam for another 20-25 minutes. And this is followed by Yamini discussing the performance and the choreographic aspects of the Yakshaganam. So I start off now. I have a small request to Sridevi. Please let me know when it's 25 minutes so that I know when to stop. So let me start off so that I don't meander and go anywhere. I have my points put down in a bit of a written format. So initially for the introduction, I'm going to read it out to you. Let me first talk very briefly about the origin and the genesis of the Yakshaganam format. Now, while I give you an introduction, I also want to say that there are many versions and many stories regarding the development of the Yakshagana format. Now, amongst the various dance theatre traditions that flourished in southern India, the Yakshaganam, which is primarily a theatre format or a street theatre form, it attained a great prominence due to its unique presentational format, its structure, and its musical content. This genre has actually influenced many of the group traditions, which have combined dance, drama, and music in their format. And the term Yakshaganam finds its origin in several sources, which we'll be seeing shortly. And the term refers to a literary mode, a literary format of presentation, as well as a performance genre. Now, a Yakshaganam, to make it very simple, is a dance opera with a well-defined plot. It involves several characters who perform to a certain libretto. So it has primary characters, it has secondary characters, it has situational characters who come in wherever the situation demands, and it has link characters who link the scenes, one scene and the other, all guided by a primary director called the Sutradhara, or somebody who is holding the thread of the whole drama in his hands, or the sutra. So this is linked by the Sutradhara. So you have a wide range of characters here. Now the text is also called a Yakshaganam in a literary format, and it has a structured and recognizable set of poetic features. In a typical Yakshaganam, the characters must introduce themselves through their own singing and dialogue rendition. Now, there are varying opinions about the origins of the Yakshaganam, which I'll quickly go through because my focus is on the literature. So, I will just give you a very quick and a very brief introduction about the origins. There are several theories here. One theory is that it is derived from the Kuravanji dramas. The Kuravanji means a gypsy dance, and the word is composed of the words Kurava and Anji, which refers to a tribe and to dance movement or a step. Now, presumably, the dances of the Kuravas were spontaneous in terms of the movements and melodies and dealt with themes dealing with local deities or Grama Devatas and natural elements. Now, they were simple natakas which involved a few characters, and they were the precursors to the more elaborate dance forms or the more elaborate format that we see today called the Yakshaganam. Now, at such a time when tribal communities were mainly self-contained and had very little contact with non-tribal societies, the question may arise that how did the dance and music patterns of separate groups actually manage to influence each other? But the answer may lie in the movements of pilgrims from the plains who traveled far and wide to visit the temples and shrines. And many important pilgrimage centers were located on hilltops. To reach them, the pilgrims had to traverse paths cut through the hilly forests. On the way, they would have witnessed the dances of the hill tribes, including the Kuravas. So their festivals are well known to us. And an interaction like this became a two-way process, which is why Kuravanji Natakams began to be composed around non-tribal themes, including those from Hindu mythology, over a period of time. Now, fundamentally, the Yakshaganam is a happy combination of three arts: music, dance, and literature. The story goes that there are several tribes, such as the Kuravas, the Jakkula, the Koyalu, the Sharavalu, the Yanadulu, and many more, who had their own traditions of dance ballads or these Bhagavatam stories, or what we call the Yakshaganam. The Jakkula were a tribe who lived in district settlements and worshipped Kameshwari, an aspect of the mother goddess. It is believed that their art may have been also associated with other aspects like fertility rites and so many other things. In earlier times, the Jakkula were relatively low on the ladder of activity, but by the 15th century, it appears that they were all well to do, as is borne out by the inscriptions of a charitable donation made to a Jakkini temple in Tirupati. By this time, they were also performing in the royal courts. Such performances are believed to have taken the form of musical ballads. The famous work Kridabhiramam of poet Srinatha has a vivid description of one such performance in the court, where he refers to a dancer called the Jakkula Purandari, or a woman who sings melodiously, hitting high notes and changing ragas effortlessly. She would match her pitch with the drone of the instrument, he says. Now, in Srinatha's Bhima Khandam, belonging to approximately the 14th century, we find the first reference to the composite term Yakshaganam. Kirtintu Reddani Kirti Gandharvamu Yakshagana Sarani. This was the line that was quoted there. Now, the first poet, according to history, who wrote a comprehensive Yakshaganam, namely Saubhari Charitam, was Proluganti Chennashauri. But this Yakshaganam is unavailable to us today, and the earliest printed Yakshaganam was Sugriva Vijayam by Kandukuri Rudrakavi and is said to belong to the 16th century. Historians are at a variance in establishing the age and the nativity. While one locates him in King Krishnadevaraya's 8-poet assembly, Another finds him in the court of Malik Ibrahim, the Bahmani king of the 16th century. The theme of his opera is taken from the Ramayana. I'll come to the components a little later because it involves the metrical formats. According to Telugu scholars, traces from the artistic expressions of the Kuravas and Jakkula can be found in the later day classical Yakshaganams. It is thereby inferred that the musical and poetic practices of these tribes, combined with the formal features of Sanskrit theatre, and paved the way for the Yakshaganam. Now, there is Dr. V. Raghavan, a very well-known historian and scholar. He states that the Yakshaganam of Andhra can even be traced back to the 12th century as far as historical evidence is concerned. And he has a very interesting tale to tell about the King Kalinga Ganga of the 12th century. But I will not go into that part of the history right now because I have to concentrate on the literary aspect. And this Yakshagana, the Ganga Gauri Vilasam, which is dedicated to his favorite god Someshwara, has many instances which are extremely beautiful in rhythmic structure as well as in literary content. Now, Yakshaganam was of primarily three types. You have the Shravya Yakshaganams, which are to be recited for listening and the pleasure of the audience, where the emphasis was on the music and the dialogue. You have the Drushya, those which are to be enacted for the visual pleasure of the audience, with emphasis on drama and movement and the visual. And you have the Shravya Drushya or the Ubhaya, which is a combination of both, which is equally suitable to be heard and to be viewed. So the last was considered the most suitable for performance and therefore found more flavor with the troops for theatrical presentation. Now this Yakshaganam, which evolved from different indigenous communities, underwent many changes, and gradually by the mid-15th, 16th centuries, it became one of the most popular forms of composition from the point of view of literature and performance. The Yakshaganam in several formats traveled across southern India and was presented in several ways by many kinds of performer troupes. So just touch upon the fact that Karnataka has its own Yakshaganam and Kuchipudi has its own Yakshaganam. The different communities like the Dasi Bhagavatams, the Chenchu Bhagavatams, the Yanadi Bhagavatams, the Golla Bhagavatams. So there are Yakshagana formats in across southern India, including Melatur and Mysore and many other areas of southern India. So I will not go into details there. Before we actually look at the Kuchipudi compositions, which is primarily going to be handled by Sumitra and Yamini, let us first understand the structure of the Yakshaganam genre and look at the significant contributors of this form. Now, the Nayaka period of the Tanjavur monarchy is said to be the golden period of Yakshaganam because they have been prolific compositions of Yakshaganams during that time. Now, I'll just quickly go into what I'm supposed to be talking about. That is the features and structure of the Yakshaganam format as far as the literature is concerned. Now, here I want to say something that the Yakshaganam can comprise of many themes. It can be Pauradika, that is something based on the Itihasas. You can have the Kshetra Mahatyas, that is something based on a particular religious place. You can have historicals, Charitrika, or biographies of great men and kings and gods. It could be a social theme. It could be a theme of marriage. Marriage was a very popular theme. And it could also be something to do with tattva or spiritual themes. So all these themes found a place in the Yakshagana genre. Now, let's look at some of the primary literary formats that you find in the Yakshaganam. Now, the Yakshaganam is rich with varied literary formats. The Daruvu. The Daruvu is a kind of a song pattern and it owes its origin to Dhruva Gana, which I will not discuss because that is a musical component and it will be discussed by Sumitra. Now, these are mentioned in the Natyashastra and there are 5 types which are mentioned there, but these songs were primarily meant to establish different situations within the Yakshagana. So you have the introductory verses, like the very famous Bhamane Satya Bhamane from Bhama Kalapam, which also follows the Pravesha Daruvu format. Then you have the Kanaka Kashipudanu Danujendrudu from the Prahlada Natakam, Raju Vedale Sabhaku from Usha Paridayam. So you have so many of these entry formats. This entry format was used by all Yakshagana writers across southern India. So whether you have the Pallaki Seva Prabandhams of King Shahaji of Tanjavur, where he talks about the king seated, the Shiva seated on his throne, Koluvayunnade Devadevudu, and across you have, and there are conversational darvus like Karpura Gandhito Kalayuta Ledani between Krishna and Satyabhama in the Kalapams. There are Samvada darvus between Prahlada and Leelavati, his mother, and Hiranyakashipa. You have prolific Samvada darvus in the Prahlada Natakam. Vinara Balaka, Ne Telpina Matalanu, between Chandamarkulu and Prahlada. So here, the Daruvu is a very important structure which actually takes the characters to a very defined component as the conversations between the different characters is unfolding. You also have very interesting features which are covered in the Darvus, like for example, in the well-known Parijata Paharanam of Matrubhuta Kavi, you have Darvus which signify the 4 different languages that were used in the Yakshagana at that point of time. Because the Bhosle kings also were Marathi kings. Tanjavur was a Tamil region. It also had the influences of Karnataka. And of course, Telugu was the language of literature. So you have a certain songs or darvus in which Satyabhama addresses Krishna in 4 different languages because he doesn't listen to her. So she talks to him in Sanskrit, then she talks to him in Kannada, in Urdu, which is a kind of a Dakkani, in Marathi, and in Telugu. So I don't have time to go into details, but since I'm talking about the literary aspects, I thought I should just tell you this. So here, there are various types of the darvus. Then you have the formats which cross over from classical and Desi Yakshaganams, the 2 formats, that is the Sisapadyams and the Kandapadyams. Now the Sisapadyam is a certain meter which is a verse meter. Now I will not give you the breakup and the Ganavi Bhajana because that becomes too technical for a 25-minute discussion. But let me suffice to say that the Sisapadyam is a kind of a composition which primarily for dancers, if you look at making a rhythmic component out of it, you can break it into syllables of 5 or khandam, just like the another format, the Dvipada. So you have many Sisapadyams which occur in Prahlada Natakam, like Munudharma Judu Cheyu, Ghanaraja Suya Dvar. So this kind of ones. Then you have Sisapadyams in the Parijata Paharanams also. So you have the Sisapadyams of Prahlada, you have the Sisapadyams of Vasantika Parinayam, Vigneshwara Kalyanam, Valli Kalyanam, and so many Yakshaganams from Tanjavur as well as from Kuchipudi. Now, this Sisapadyam is a format which has become very popular after the Bhagavatam. So a lot of the poets are influenced by the Bhagavatam in taking the Sisapadyam format. And other than that, you have another Padyam format, which is a verse. Padyam is a verse format. So in this, you have the Kandapadyam. Now, this is a smaller version where the first and the third lines are short and the second and the fourth lines are longer. So for example, if you look at Kandapadyams of the very famous Bhama Kalapam, you have 7 in a row describing her 7 weeks of ornaments. So you have Korina Yunni Dustulu, Rarammani Piluva Padmaraga Punagalan, Adiginavaanni Uchcheda, Maaramamu Seyakipudu Madhavu Temma. So you have a structure like that, which is short, long, short, long. And then when this Kandapadyam graduates into a rhythmical structure, then it arises the format called the Kandartham. Now, Kandartham, I will not go into details because you need to understand what it is musically and rhythmically. So I think the other two will do that for you. But let me suffice to say that a verse, when it becomes rhythmic in nature, after a certain progression, then that becomes a Kandartham. Now, the Prahalada Natakam also has several మీ మనములు తెలియుటకై తామసము బల్కి తిప్పుడు దల. So like this you have several kanda padyams here, and it is interesting also to see that the Manmadha sections in Matrubhuta Kavi's Parijatam, there's a lot of kanda padyams used over there, like dham dham dhana dhana yanuchu dundubi ravamul selaga durbala vilasat గంధవహ వాహుడై శరసంధానము సేయ మరుడు సారిన వెడలిన్. So it's a very interesting kind of a structure. Then you have another structure which is important, is the Dvipada. Now, as the word indicates, the Dvipada, that is, there are two padas or two lines to this particular structure. Now, you also have formats like Tripada, Chatushpada, and so on, which you find in Yakshaganams. That is 3 lines for a verse, 4 lines for a verse, and so on. Now, it's interesting that the Dvipada has been in operation from the time of Annamacharya, even probably much before that, because you have epigraphical evidences to say that a certain format called Taravozu is what became the Dvipada at a later point of time. And there are some historical evidences regarding this. But here you have the Dvipada of Annamacharya. Vini vini okabala vikachambujakshi cheluva kokilavani chiguraku boni వలరాజు చిగురెల్లి వలపుల వెల్లి కడివోని పూముల్కి కన్నుల కల్కి. So this is also a structure that breaks into the khandam meter for dancers. So you can easily fit taka takita into a Dvipada format. So there are large Dvipadas were multi-functional in a Yakshaganam. There are very, very large Dvipadas which tell the stories of the life of the characters. They are used as entry patterns. They talk about relationships. Like in certain Parijatams, you have certain, they speak about the bandhavyas or the relationships. Like Satyabhama says, Bhavimpa Devaki Devi Mayattamma Mama Vasudeva Manyudamma Valabhadra Murti Ma Bhavakavalenamma Kommarevati Toti Kodalamma. So she talks about all her relationships in the Dvipada. So other than the Dvipadas, which have a very long, they are also used for lekhas or letters. They were used for introductions. They were used for so many other elements. Now, the Dvipada was also you can see it very prominently in Palkuriki Somanada's works also, like the Basava Puranam and other structures. So, but I cannot go into the details there. A most important aspect, which I will just finish in 2 minutes, is the fact that the Desi formats like the Ela, the Ardhachandrika, the Reku, the Ragada, so these are some formats which are extremely essential to the Yakshagana format, and these are the formats that are not much visible today in Kuchipudi Natakam. So therefore it is a more classical structure. The Kuchipudi Yakshaganam today is a more classical. You find Daruvus, Padyams, you find Kandarthams, you find Sisardhams, and you find other formats like the Dandakams and all these. And you find some of the other classical formats like Panchachamaram and Utsaham. Like Panchachamaram, you have the very famous piece from the Bhamakalapam, which is not really being danced anymore too much. So where she says Patani Raututi Kunan Mitari Nakrunlan Katari Ganama Archibal Gataya Kambuga Janul. So this is a Satyabhama's Panchachamaram. And then you have the Utsahams. So let me just end by just giving you a small example of the Elapata from Sugriva Vijayam, because these are the sections which are very Desi in nature. So he says, భానువంశమున పుట్టి దానవ కామిని గొట్టి పూని మఖము నిర్వహించిన ఓ రామచంద్ర. So this is from Sugriva Vijayam. And you have Dhavalas, where he says, Sriramudu Gunadhamudu Varijadala Lochanudu Shurata Ravanu Gulchi Narimani Tevalayan. So this is a Dhavalamu, and then you have Triputas, and then Ragadas were the song sections before the Daruvu was formulated. So when you talk about the Ragadas, the famous Ragadas, which have been classified by many texts like Appakavi's, Chandodarpanam and others. So in this, the Ragada formats are described to be, okay, I think I don't have time to go into that now, most probably. So you have, let's suffice to say that it's a kind of a song which was created before the Daruvu format. And then you have the Rekus, and it's also a certain kind of a metrical structure. And then there are several other literary formats like the Hecharikas, the Lalis, the Melukolpus, the Jolas, the Mangalams, which you find also in the Devadasi tradition as the Nitya Sevas of a temple. Now, a lot of these find their way in Kuchipudi, in the Yakshaganams of Tanjavur also, and in the later Yakshaganams, especially those connected to the Kalyanams. Because then you have towards the end of the drama, you would have the Jola, you would have the Lali, you would have the Shobana songs, then you would have the Chandamama and all these. So like what Sri Balantrapu Rajinikanth Rao mentions in the Andhra Charitra, he talks about several wide variety of formats like the Jola, Suvali, the Harati, the Gobbi Padamulu, the Kovala Padamulu, the Chiluka Padamulu, Allo Nerello, Sisardham, Kandartham, the Tribangis, Vipadas, Tripadas, Chaupadas, Shatpadas, the Manjari Dvipadas, the Jakkula Reku, the Ragada, and all these formats which form the literary format of the Yakshaganam. So I think I have to stop there because there is
madam.
a lot more that needs to be said about the literary formats, but well, we shall discuss that at a later date. So thank you so much, and I hand the stage over now to Sumitra to discuss with you the musical components of the Yakshagana. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anu, for all the lovely and wonderful introduction about the literary aspects of the Yakshagana. I know it is very difficult to capsulize the entire literature, which we spread across 32 weeks of thing, and given, and that too out of the half an hour, first 5 minutes was about introduction and everything. But anyway, it gave a very broad understanding about the literature, and thank you for leaving the Dhruvaganam for me. Now, in addition to what Anu has said about the origin of or the genesis of Yakshagana, I just would like to add one point there before I move on to the musical aspects of Yakshagana. According to the Manusmriti and the Amarkosam, Amarkosam was written in 3rd century BC. It says that progenitor has created Yakshas, Gandharvas, Kinneras, Kimpurushas, and several other celestial beings who are very well versed with the arts like music and dance. And that's the reason, sometimes if somebody sings so beautifully, we compare them with the Gandharva Gana. And if somebody's voice is too sweet, we tell them, it's a Kinnera Kantam, something like that, So all that, the qualities that we have with the music and dance, we compare it to the Yakshagana. Yakshas Gana or Gandharva Gana, Kinnera Kantam, and things like that. Now, coming to the music and the musicality and aspects of music in the Yakshagana, I have decided to, talk about the definition of music first and evolution of the Indian music, very brief introduction about it. And then let's move on to the Yakshagana music. Right. In order to understand the Yakshagana music, I thought it is very appropriate to give the definition of the music first of all. So the word music has been defined by several authors of 13th and 14th century. And according to the Sarangadeva in his Sangita Ratnakara, he has defined music as Geetam Vadyam Tadha Nrityam Trayam Sangeetam Uchyate. That means music is a combination of 3 arts. That is Geetam, that's the song. Vadyam is instruments, that's orchestra, and the dance. So all these 3 combinedly is called as music, right? So when you think about the Western thought, Greeks have added 2 more elements here along with the music and the instrumentation, they said it's a composite of poetry, music, drumming, and acting also. Isn't it quite interesting that Westerns have looked at as they have added the acting and um, the poetry also, right? Coming to Swami Pragyananda, in his article, which is published in Cultural Heritage of India, he says that music is a combination of several things. Actually, the theory of music consists of grammar, history, science, acoustics, physics, iconography, psychology, aesthetics, and finally the philosophy. So he says that it's a very comprehensive thing. We just cannot confine it to either song or music, just simply like that. And I feel after reading this article, I felt that this is the appropriate definition which can be correlated with the Yakshagana music. And this is what exactly the Markandeya, sage Markandeya also said in Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, that it's a combination of several art forms. Unfortunately, in the 20th century, the definition of music has been limited only to the Sangeetam and the instrumental music. That's very unfortunate. From that of Sarangadeva, the dance was eliminated from that, or it's limited to music. As a dancer, I feel for that. Okay. Now, coming to the evolution of the Indian classical music or music, different mythological come historical allegories, they center around the antiquity of the origin of the music. Let me put it in this way. So the antiquity of the Indian music can be dated back or traced from the nomadic stages itself. However, the reference of a systematized music can be seen only from the Vedic period. Now, when I say that it is systematized in the Vedic period, you can see it. The value of the Vedic music can be seen in its antiquity, in its continuity, and the applicability of some of the common principles that were laid down in the Vedas itself. And of course, Samaveda is considered to be the source of Indian music. When we talk about the music, it's obvious that we need to talk about the Saptaswaras. So let me very briefly tell you about the evolution of the Saptaswaras. So prior to the Rigvedic period, it is believed that, all the chants, Vedic chants were chanted or recited in Ekaswara, in a single note. So that is called as Archika Paddhati, which is sung in a single note. Then during the Samaveda period, it has been developed into two swaras, which is Dviswara, otherwise called as Gadhika Paddhati. Then they have improvised it into three notes, which is also called as Samika Paddhati. So we have Archika, Gadhika, and Samika, which is in three notes. Like the names given for are the Naradiya Siksha and Panini's Siksha. They tell us that a beautiful quote saying that Udatta Anudattascha Swaritascha Swarasrayaha Uchaihi Udatta Nichaihi Anudatta. That means all these three notes, whatever we are calling, Udatta, Anudatta, and the Swarita. Swarita being the medium note, Udatta is the upper tone of the Swarita, and Anudatta is the lower tone of the Swarita. Right. So we have a medium note, upper note, and the lower note. And when you listen to the Vedic chants, for example, Mantra Pushpam, Yevam Veda, Yopamayatanam Veda, all these mantras were chanted in these three notes only, Udatta, Anudatta, and the Swarita. Anyway, from that of three notes, they have introduced the musicians have introduced several notes, which in turn, developed into Chatuswari, the four notes, then on to 5 notes, then on to 6 notes, and then finally they have settled down in Saptaswaras, and they are called as, Shadjama, Rishabha, Gandhara, Madhyama, Panchama, Daivata, and Nishada, which represented in Sari, Gama, Padani, and collectively they are called as Saptaswaras. Of course, after creating the Saptaswaras, again, they have taken only the 5 notes out of these 7 and created Audava ragas. And they make use of only 6 swaras out of 7, and they are called as Shadava ragas. This is about the Saptaswaras. Anyway, moving on to the swaras and the swarasthanas. As I told you that, the musicians have created 7 swaras and they have created swarasthanas also. As I told you, there is always an upper note and a lower note. Out of the 7 swaras, sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa and pa are called as achala swaras. That means they don't give any kind of variation there. And rest of the 5 swaras have got an upper note and a lower note, which creates another 10 altogether, 10 swarasthanas altogether. So 10 plus the sa and pa put together, all 12 swarasthanas. Later, maybe during the 17th century, to be more precise, in 1630s or 1640s, Venkatamiki has created 4 more swarasthanas and made it altogether as 16 swarasthanas while he was developing the Melakarta ragas there. So this is about the swaras and the swarasthanas. Now that we understood about the origin of the music and the origin and development of the Saptaswaras and the Swarasthanas. This particular music, everything, we believe that, it is derived from Samaveda. And the music, that which is derived from Samaveda, is called as Gandharva Veda. It is quite interesting to understand and note that, Bharata has mentioned about the Gandharva Veda. So Bharata said, Gandharva Veda or the Gandharva consists of Swara, Tala and Pada. Swara is the music, Tala is the rhythmic structure, and Pada is the Sahitya. So these are the 3 elements, that consist of Gandharva Veda. And he also further described about several elements based on, and he mentioned about Swaratmaka, Talatmaka and Padatmaka, wherein different parts of Gandharva Veda and Swaratmaka, he talks about the swaras, the musical notes, gramas, shrutis, murchanas, sthanas, and sadharanas, jati, varna, alankara, and finally the dhatu. Dhatu and matu, it takes really a lot of time for me to explain all these concepts. Yes, provided when you all take up this particular course in University of Silicanandra, you will have, much more broader, we can give you more information on that. Anyway, so this is about the origin and development of the Indian music, basically. After that, when you look at the different genres that were developed, we can broadly classify the Indian music into classical music or Shastriya Sangeet, semi-classical music or the Upasastriya Sangeet, folk music, otherwise called as Lok Sangeet, religious music, which is also called as Dharma Sangeet. And again, when you talk about the classical music in India, it is further divided into Hindustani music and the Carnatic music, depending upon the subtle nuances that they follow. It is classified under Hindustani and the Carnatic music and so on. This is only, to give you a broad idea how the music has developed. Of course, there are several Vagyakaras and musicians who have really contributed for the development of Indian classical music. Out of them, generally we name the Trinity. And, there are several people, Purandaradasa, Shyama Sastri, Tyagaraja, many people, who have contributed for the development of Indian music. Anyway, today's topic is Yakshagana music. So I would like to move on to Yakshagana music. Why I have given the introduction to the Carnatic music or the Indian classical music, because in Pan South India, we make use of the Carnatic music, which is the basis for almost all the art forms, dance forms of Pan South India. Be it Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam, you name anything, they make use of Carnatic music. Then the question arises, I'm talking on behalf of you only. When you say that Carnatic music is the basis for everything, how is it Yakshagana music is different from this particular music? What are the salient features of Yakshagana music? So for that, we need to understand Bharata's Natya Shastra's music and the music that which has been explained in Bharata's Natya Shastra. Anyway, we shall move on to Bharata's Natya Shastra because in the Natya Sangraha, not because, in the Natya Sangraha, he was making a mention of Swaram, Atodhyam, and the Ganam. Swaram, he talks about the Saptaswaras. We discussed a little there. Atodhyam, he was mentioning about all the four kinds of musical instrument, Tatancheva, Avanathancha, Ghanam, Sushiramevacha, all the four types of musical instruments there. And when it comes to the Ganam, wherein we are really interested, this Ganam is spread out in different chapters. One is the Purvarangam and the other one is Dhruva Ganam. Right. And of course, in the instrumental music, he has discussed a little of music there. Keeping the Yakshaganam format in mind, its presentation, I just would like to give you the information about the music, that which is presented in the Purvarangam. Purvarangam are nothing but the preliminaries that are to be observed before performing an Yakshagana. Like, what are the aspects that we really look at when we do the Purvarangam or the preliminaries? One is the Prarthana, Nandi, Prastavana. Okay, these are the things. Okay. So when it comes to the Purvarangam, Bharata has explained about the Antaryavanika and the Bahyaravanika things that are to be observed. That is before and after raising the curtain. After raising the curtain, he suggested about the Gita Vidhi, Uttapana, Parivartana, Nandi, Prastavana, Sandhivachanam, and so on. When it comes to the application of these terminology or the practice of these things into the Kuchipudi Yakshagana format, we find it a little different in the nomenclature of the things that are being followed. A little variation is there, but still, when you look at an overall understanding or the comprehensive look at the Bharata's Natya Shastra, the principles that were laid down by Bharata, and when applicability of them to the Kuchipudi Yakshaganas, they are almost all the same. So let me briefly tell you about what is a Gita Vidhi. Gita Vidhi is the application of the song in the dance performances presented in the Purvaranga. Here, the lady dancers would come onto the stage and offer the flowers there, while the Sutradhara and the Pariparsvakas are singing the song. This particular bit, since Yamini is presenting it, I'm not going to give you any demo here. And the next one is Uttapana, which means starting or the singing of the benediction. And Parivartana, the director or the Sutradhara would walk around the stage and praise the guardian deities of the different worlds. This is called as Parivartana. Okay. This particular thing, when it's presented in two different styles. One is if a lady dancer is doing that part, Yamini will show it. And if the Sutradhara along with the Pariparsvikas, if they are presenting it, they would recite, blessing the king and the people of the kingdom and the audience also. This goes like this, just a version. Namostu sarvadevebhyo dvijatibhyas subhantada jitam somena vairagya sivam gobrahmanaya cha. And it goes like that. It's a very fast one when, if the performance is taken for 10 days to go, then the entire preliminaries were presented the whole night, the first night, I should say. And as the time passed, instead of presenting it for 10 days, they have, concised it to 3 hours, and now they're presenting it only to 2 hours. Now, just like our lecture, from that of 16 weeks, we have capsulized the entire thing into half an hour thing. I know how difficult it is. Poor thing. How Kuchipudi people are very clever to manage certain things without missing all these things. They have been presenting it. And my pranams to all the Kuchipudi Bhagavathuru there. Now, coming to the Nandi section, which is nothing but a benediction there. This includes Hail to the Lord and eulogizing him too. And this is also called as Adi Mangalam. Okay. And this goes like this. So when I said about Adi Mangalam, there are two kinds of Mangalam. Adi Mangalam, which is sung at the beginning, and Antya Mangalam, which is sung at the end also. An example from Girija Kalyanam for Adi Mangalam is Uma Maheswara Purnalabdha Jivana Gajanana Bahuparak. Keeping the time in the mind, I'm just singing a single line there just to give you an example. And for the Antyamangalam, again from the Girija Kalyanam, when the marriage is being performed, it is sung like this. విడియపడి భీష్మించి పెండ్లి కొడుకైనట్టి జగమేలు తండ్రికి జయమంగళం, జగమేలు తండ్రికి జయమంగళం, సిరులచే వరునిచే కరముచే కొన్నట్టి జగమేలు తల్లికి జయమంగళం, జగమేలు తల్లికి జయమంగళం. The second time what I'm singing is generally sung by the chorus. The Sutradhara along with the Pariparsvakas were standing behind the artist. Initially, the singers would stand behind the artist and used to sing. And the first time when the dancer himself would sing, second time when the artist is busy enacting or doing the abhinaya, the Sutradhara along with the Pariparsvakas would sing the chorus part of it. That was the practice initially. I think till 1940s or 50s, that was the practice. Later on, the orchestra, the playback singer, when they have introduced the playback singer instead of the dancer himself singing, they made an arrangement to the right of the stage that, they sit, all the orchestra people and the playback singers would sit the side of a stage, and the dancer is busy enacting here. So that's about the Adimangalam and Antyamangalam also. And one more typical feature of Yakshagana, I should say, when the dancer himself is singing there, he need to throw his voice in order to reach the person who is sitting at the end. Okay. Next one is Prarochana, which is nothing but making appeal to the spectators about the Yakshagana that is being or going to be performed there. This, in other words, is also called as Prastavana. Like Avadharinchariya విద్యలనాదరించరయ్యా, లలిత కళల విలువ తెలియు సరసులు పదింపదిగా పరవశులై అవతరించరయ్యా, విద్యలనాదరించరయ్యా. This is the Prastavana, I should say. Now let me quickly read out all the ragas that were used in different kinds of Yakshaganas. So they made use of Melakatta ragas such as Todi, Bhairavi, Kalyani, Sankarabharanam, and which are very famous in the past. And the Janya ragas, which are the derivative ragas like Nata, Hamsadvani, Bilahari, Saveri, Surati, Arabhi, Darbar, Kannada, Ahiri, Punnagavarali. So these are some of the ragas that were used. And one more feature of Yakshagana music is, depending upon the entry of the characters and the state of their mind, the raga is chosen there. For example, if it is a Srungara Rasa based or an erotic sentiment based, the ragas like Athana, Mukhari, Hussaini, Ananda Bhairavi, Kamas were used. And had it been a demon king entering onto the stage, be it Hiranyakasipa, Banasura, whoever it is, ragas like Purvi Kalyani, Saveri are employed. And again, to display the pangs of separation of lovers, ancient ragas like Ahiri, Ananda Bhairavi, Kamboji, Mukhari, Punnagavarali, Sokavarali, these are the different kinds of ragas that were sung. And the beautiful feature of Yakshagana music here and how it is different from the Carnatic music is, based on the presentation or the performance of the artist, the singing would change a little based on the Manodharma and the Nataka Dharma. Manodharma, the word is a little different from that of Manodharma, what the classical Carnatic singers make use of there. They have their own Manodharma, and Yakshagana music has got its own Manodharma, combined with Nataka Dharma there. Okay. And another important feature is, they would adopt Anyaswara from another raga and adopt it into here. We find this typically in Amba Paraku, wherein a combination of Mohana and Kamboji is done. Right. I'll tell you one more feature and then I would sing one for you. At the end of song, if they feel that it is appropriate, they would also sing a Saki there. And in the Pravesa Darus also, they would sing a kind of Hail to the King also. So these are the typical special features where nowhere you will find except in Yakshagana music. Now, when I say in Kamboji and Mohan are combined in Amba Paraku, let me also give you an example of singing the Ardis and then move on to the Amba Paraku song. The special feature of Ardis is, when a jati is sung in typical pattern, how we really sing the jati, on mnemonics, it is called as jati. But when it is sung in a particular tune, it is called as Ardi. For example, how you sing a jati? This is how a jati is rendered. But when it comes to Ardi, they sing in a particular tune. Here they sing in a particular tune and it is called as Arti. And in Amba Paraku, since you all know the Amba Paraku, I'm not going to sing it here. But only the last Saki part where they take Anyaswara there. So this is how they take an Anyaswara and mix a Kamboji and Mohana together. When I say that in Pravesa Daru, they also make use of different kinds of sounds in order to give, I don't know whether can I use the word, the sound effects there. And, they sing the hail to the king. That shall we discuss when we talk about the Dhruvagana of Bharata. And the one more feature of Yakshagana music is they start with Nata Ragam and they end with Surati Ragam, which is called as Adi Nata and Antya Surata. Now, when I was telling that, they performed 10 nights, so they make sure that, every night they start with Nata Raga and they end with Surati Raga. Moving on to the Dhruvaganam. The Dhruvaganam, Dhruva means what? That which is present there, that which is stable there is called as Dhruva. So what are all present and what are all stable there? The yatis, the panis, the jatis, the words, the tempo, the vakya, alankara, all these are present in a particular Gana. Hence it is called as Dhruva Gana. And in a colloquial language, we call it as Daruvu. So Dhruva turned into Daruvu according to Veturi Prabhakar Sastri Garu. After doing a lot of research, he said it. Okay. Dhruvas are employed in Sanskrit dramas, and when it comes to the Telugu Yakshaganas, we call them as Daruvus. So, as Anu rightly said, there are 5 types of Daruvus: Pravesaki, Akshepiki, Prasadaki, Antara, and Naishkramiki Daruvu. What is the Pravesa Daruvu? On an entry of any character, they sing the Pravesa Daruvu. And the beauty of this Pravesa Daruvu is, as I told you, they give some kind of sound effects there and a Saki there. I just would like to give you a demo of Kanaka Kasipudanu, what exactly Anu said it. And apparently, Yamini is also going to perform the same thing for give you a better understanding about this particular Daruvu. Kanaka Kasipudanu Ganujendrudu Kanata Toda Tanadu Sabhaku Vache. Kanaka Kasipudanu. Kanaka Kasipudanu Danujendrudu Kanata Toda Tanadu Sabhaku Vachenu. Mahishasuradhanavendra Bahupara. Mahishasuradhanavendra Bahupara. So this is how the hail to the king and in between whatever sound effects I said, that's done by the artist himself in order to show his valor and the heroism. Generally, it's the demon kings like Hiranyakasipu, Manasura, all the Bhasmasura, all these people, demon kings, they sing that. Samvada Daruva, I'm not going to touch since Anu has already touched it. And Naishkramiki Daruvu is the one when the artist exits from the stage, it is sung and it is called as Nishkramana, that is Naishkramiki Daruvu. We have several examples from Usha Paranyam. Kadale Sankaruda Pudu సోనపురికి వెడలే శంకరుడప్పుడు. See the kind of singing when Lord Shiva is leaving to Sonapuri, this is how it is sung. And in the same Ushaparanyam, when Banasura was about to conquer all the worlds, when he was proceeding to fight with the other kings, look at the tempo that they have really built while singing. వెడలిన సురజలధి సోముడు దిక్కతుల గెలువ వెడలిన సురజలధి సోముడు దిక్కతుల నెంచ వెడలిన సురజలధి సోముడు ధిం ధిం తక్ ధిం ధిం తక్ ధిం. So that kind of force in the singing itself, the audience also would feel that, as if they are marching towards the war field. That's the greatness of singing. When it is sung by the Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu, that is something, we are in a different world, right? So another one is Akshepaki Dhruva. If the plot is multi-dimensional, the dramatist introduce a different rasa on the stage. And according to Dr. Papu Venugopal Rao, he says that, Akshepaki is sung, the song which is sung all of a sudden is called as Akshepaki Daru. In Girija Kalyanam, we find, and another example for Akshepaki is, abusive thing. When you have to abuse someone, you make use of Akshepaki also. Akshepana. Kanipani Madana Adini Cheta Ahankarintuva Haruni Jayantuva Ahankarintuva Haruni Jayantuva Adini Cheta Kanipani Madana Kanipani Madana Adini Cheta. So the next Daru in the order is Prasadaki Daru or Prasadaki Dhruva. If the Akshepaki is an introducer to a new sentiment, Prasadaki is sung to make the audience familiar with the new one. Generally, in Kuchipudi Yakshaganams, how this Prasaki Daru is adopted, like, before the entry of a demon king or any other character, a Davarika would present a Daru. That we are calling it, in Kuchipudi Yakshaganas, we are calling it as Prasadaki Daru, like Nindu Koluvai Unnadu నిఖిల లోకం దండిత రిపుదైత్యుడే దానవేంద్రుడు నిండు కొలువై ఉన్నాడు. This particular Daru, we are calling it as Prasadaki Daru in Kuchipudi Yakshagana. And the last Daru is the Antara Daru. If the main characters are very gloomy or absent-minded or asleep or within their enjoying with their friends and association of their friends, so that particular Daru is called as Antara Daru. And some people do say that, when it is sung in between two episodes, that is also called as Antara Daru. As Anu was rightly mentioning, about the Padyam, I would like to conclude with a Padyam. And this Padyam is also, I think Yame is going to present. And depending upon the characters, like whether it is a male or a female or a child, if it is in Prahlada, the voice modulation and the intonation is also very well adopted by the Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu while singing it. Right. Inne dinambulaye itaku nenu సపర్యలు చేయవచ్చి దినంబులాయే ఇటకు నేను సపర్యలు చేయవచ్చి పన్నగ భూషణుండు తన భావమున దలి ఊహ తెల్పడే. So this is how a Padyam goes. The character is very gloomy mood. So Parvati was disappointed as Shankara was not looking at her in spite of her, service which is being rendered by Parvati to Lord Shiva. So apart from this, we have several other things like Samvada Daru, wherein you have a dialogue. Samvada Daru means Vadam is having a dialogue. Samvadam is where you have a healthy dialogue. And generally, Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu have adopted this particular Samvada Daru to enlighten the audience and enrich with all the anecdotes that are to be taught from the beautiful epics. It's not that they have a dialogue there, whether it is Karpura Gandhito or Abhyangana Snanam Amara Jayintu. So it is to enlighten the audience about the Almighty, His deeds and everything. To conclude with, audience do appreciate the music and of course the literature, the song part of it, while watching the dance. So it's a combination of literature, music and dance. Since we have covered literature and the music to some extent, now I wish Yamini to take over and explain the nuances and the subtleties that they have adopted into the Yakshagana choreography part of it. Over to Yamini. Thank you so much.
Namaste. Thank you, Sumitraka. It's very pleasure to me to discuss on the choreography part of Kuchipudi Yakshaganas. Generally, the choreography starts from the selection of theme and the script. The Kuchipudi Bhagavatam adopted the script of different authors. However, notable changes and variations could be found in the performance script as we compare to the original script. So by making so many modifications and changes, they developed the performance script. So one of the notable changes in the performance script is Purvaranga. Actually, Bhanda Kanakalingeswara Rao garu convinced the Kuchipudi Gurus to incorporate the Purvarangam in their Yakshagana performances. Around 1950s, Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu took the slokas of Nandi and Purvarangam slokas from Natya Shastra and they added some jatis to those slokas and they performed. As Sumitraka mentioned, the Nandi sloka, Namostu Sarvadevebhyo. So after rendering that sloka, Namostu Sarvadevebhyo, they add some jati. That jati goes like this. Tat, thing, tat, thing, tang, tat, thing. Tat, thing, tat, thing, tang, tat, thing. Dinatang gitataka, dinatang gitataka, dinatang gitataka, dinatang gitataka, tang gitataka, tang gitataka, tang gitataka. So in this way, they perform jati. So they add jati. When we come to the Purvarangam, in Purvarangam, the artist sprinkles the holy water on the stage. We call that Punya Vachanam, and they decorate the stage with muggu, and they offer dhupam, deepam, and pushpanjali to the Rangadevata. So, just I would like to perform the pushpanjali. It's from Purvarangam. So this Purvarangam is performed before the main performance. And after this Purvarangam, Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu, the Sutradhara sings praise to Lord Ganapati and praise to Amba Prarthana. So from the Veda Pravachanam, Nandi Slokas and Purvarangam, then Ganapati Prarthana, Amba Prarthana, this entire thing is called as Melavimpu by Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu. So this Melavimpu commences before the main performance. So we cannot find this Melavimpu in the original script. So we can find this in the performance script.
Tohaddo din, dim takita dittakita tarigita dim tonga, tontonga tro dikki takka doddo. Tohaddo din, dim takita dittakita tarigita dim takita jam, tatakita jam, taka dikki chanu, tattarikita onda kita jam, tatakita jam, taka dikki chanu. Tattarkitonda kitajam tari tatakita tari tari gila tari tati tanata jenu tata tanata jenu tanata dim tanata dim tanata dim dimita jenu tanata jenu tanata dim.
So the performance script sometimes would be abridged or expanded. So depending upon various reasons. Due to time constraint, or to bring the refreshing change, or to entertain the audience, sometimes to encourage the young artists. So when the script had to be abridged, some of the storyline or some of the characters might be omitted. Or for the expansion, the dance items like Sabdam, Tarangam, Tillana, Astapadi, or sometimes they incorporate the Avantara Veshalu in the as interludes in the main performance. Kuchipudi Bhagavathulu used to perform the Krishna Sabdam immediate after the Usha Pravesadaram, and Chitrarekha performs Dasavtaral. So sometimes there was no relevance to the content or context or to the main story. They performed these as interludes to entertain the audience or to attract the audience, to as per the pulse of the audience. Sometimes they particularly these Avantara Veshalu, they used to perform to bring the awareness in the audience on the social issues of those days. Suppose if we look at the Balinta Veshamu, in that Balinta Veshamu, Mantrasani Pilivare, Nadamantramu Cheseru Miru, that line goes like that. So they are trying to bring the awareness in the audience of such. Don't make deliveries in home without that Mantrasani. So in those days, Mantrasani is the professional doctor. So they are trying to educate the audience. So they did not bother about the whether they are relevant to the main story or not. Just they bring these, they perform these as interludes in the main story. However, Sutradhara connects the performance to the main story, and then the performers continue the main story. So we'll come to the technical aspects. There are some of the typical steps in Kuchipudi style, such as Chalakava Madugulu, Chuttadugulu, Chaukamu, Kattarnatu, Venakanatu, Konganatu, Pakkanatu, Mandakoppu, and Vilamba Mandakoppu. Right. Do you know this? Kolapimpu and Palgudu Varsalu are very attractions of Kuchipudi tradition. Just I'll give an example for the Kolapimpu. Actually, Sutradhara recites Jati on the stage spontaneously, and the performer performs responsively. I'm not rendering this Jati spontaneously, just I practiced this from my gurus. So the Kolapimpu goes like this. Ta ta dinda kidakata kidakatai kidakata kidakatai taka dhiki chanu kidakataragirdum ta ta dinda kidakata kidakatai kidakata kidakatai taka dhiki chanu kidakataragirdum ta ta dinda 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 Tadinda, 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 Tate, he, Tadinda, Tadinda, Tadanatachan, Danatachan, Din, Tadanatachan, Danatachan, Din, Takitadinda, Dinakita, 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 Dinakita. So the Jati goes in this way. Sutradhara renders the spontaneous. And where there was a scope for Nritya, they used to perform these Kolapimpus. We can observe these Kolapimpus in Kanvadhams, mostly. When it comes to the Palgudu Varsalu, these Palgudu Varsalu are performed to utilize the maximum space of the stage and to give the visibility to the audience. Because in olden days, the audience used to sit around the stage, except the back side. They used to sit three sides of the stage. So while doing this Palgudu Varsalu, the artist has to turn to all the directions of the stage to give the maximum visibility to the audience. And they make circular movements in this Palgudu Varsalu. Welcome to the characters. In Kuchipudi Yakshaganas, anti-heroes are very powerful. Those are quintessential for Kuchipudi Yakshaganas. Even though they are defeated at the end of the play, even though they are killed at the end of the play, these anti-heroes are very, very essential for Kuchipudi Yakshaganas because the entire story revolves around the anti-hero. The anti-heroes had to display the emotions like Raudra, Veera. So just I would like to demonstrate the Kanakakasipudu Darbu from Prahlada Natakam.
నిండు కొలువయున్నాడే నిఖిల కీర్తిగన్నాడే దండీధరి పూదైత్యుడే దానవేంద్రుడు నిండు కొలువయున్నాడే నిఖిల కీర్తిగన్నాడే దండీధరి పూదైత్యుడే దానవేంద్రుడు దండీధరి పూదైత్యుడే దానవేంద్రుడు నిండు కొలువైయున్నడే రాక్షసేంద్రుడు నిండు కొలువైయున్నడే తట్టడ తజ్జడు దికితక తక దికిచ్చడు కిడతకతం కన్నక కసిపుడను తనుజేంద్రుడు కన్నత తోడ తనదు సభకు వచ్చను కన్నక కసిపుడను తనుజేంద్రుడు కన్నత తోడ తనదు సభకు వచ్చను కన్నక కసిపుడను తనుజేంద్రుడు కన్నత తోడ తనదు సభకు వచ్చను కన్నక కసిపుడను ధనుజేంద్రుడు 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 కన్నత తోడ తనదు సభకు వచ్చను దినకర శత కోటి దీప్తి వెలిగడు 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 మణుల మకుటమును శిరమున ధరించి మణుల మకుటమును శిరమున ధరించి కన్నక కసిపుడను ధనుజేంద్రుడు కన్నత తోడ తనదు సభకు వచ్చను కొడుకులు పడగలు వడి సూరటీనల్ నెడ నెడ విసదు చూపడతులు నడువగ కొడుకులు పడగలు వడి సూరటీనల్ నెడ నెడ విసదు పడతులు నడువగ కడువడి రంభాది కామినులు ఇరుగడలన్ అడగ కడువడి రంభాది కామినులు ఇరుగడలన్ అడగ తకిట తక చెడు తరికిట తక తటిత్తం తటిత్తం తది తటిత్తం తటిత్తం తది కటక తటిత్తం తటిత్తం తది దుడుకున రామానుజపురవాసుని దుడుకున రామానుజపురవాసుని దుడుకున రామానుజపురవాసుని దుడుకున రామానుజపురవాసుని ఎద విడువక రోషము జడి కొనగ ఎద విడువక రోషము జడి కొనగ వడిదౌవారికులుగే చరింపగ వడిదౌవారికులుగే చరింపగ వాసవాది దేవగణము బెదరగ్ వాసవాది దేవగణము బెదరగ్ కనక కసిపుడన్ తనుజేయేను కన్నత్త తోడ తన దుసభకు వచను తట్టడ తచ్చడు దికి తక తక దికిచ్చడు కడక తగడ ఉంటా.
So, if we observe the choreography of Rakshas Raja, particularly in the Pravesa Darbu, they do not show each and every word through mudras. Just they depict the mannerism of the character, as Sumitra says. So they depict the mannerism. So we can understand that the choreography is character based. And Chaturvidha Abhinayas had importance in Kuchipudi Yakshaganas. However, Vachika Abhinaya and Satvika Abhinaya had major roles. So Sutradhara explains the jargons and Sanskritized words in native language for understandable to all the people. Because the aim of the Kuchipudi Bhagavatam is to entertain all the sections of the society. So the common people may not understand the jargons or Sanskritized words. So he gives the explanation, those words. Sutradhara renders the dialogues as per the script, but sometimes he delivers the dialogues spontaneously. Here it has to mention that these spontaneous dialogues and that sense of humor reflects the prevailing social life in the society. And Kuchipudi Bhagavatul excelled in Satvika Abhinaya by constant practice and improvisation. For understanding the Satvika Abhinaya, just I would like to demonstrate the Samvada Darbu. It is Samvada Darbu of Leelavati and Prahlada. It is also from Prahlada Natakam.
Tagadurayana Vadalara Hari Bhakti Valadurayana Vadalara Hari Bhakti Manaku Tagadurayana Vadalara Hari Bhakti Ilanu ni janakuna kunanayamu Ilanu ni janakuna kunanayamu Indireshudu Vairira Ilanu ni janakuna kunanayamu Indireshudu Vairira Valadurayana Vadalara Hari Bhakti Viduvazalane Vishnu Bhaktini Talli Ne Viduvazalane Vishnu Bhaktini Talli Pudamilo Janulella Puttuchu Pudamilo Janulella Puttuchu Gittuchunduta Irugave పుడమిలో జనులెల్ల బొట్టుచు గిట్టుచుండుట ఇరుగవే విడువజాలనే విష్ణు భక్తిని తల్లి ఎన్ని చెప్పిన వినవు కుమారా నే ఎన్ని చెప్పిన చెప్పిన వినవు కుమార, నిన్ను చంపుదురనగ విని నిన్ను చంపుదురనగ విని నా కన్న కడుపెటులోర్తురా, నిన్ను చంపుదురనగ విని నా కన్న కడుపెటులోర్తురా, వలకూరాయన్న వదలర హరి భక్తి, నన్ను చంపిన నగధరుని విడజల, నన్ను చంపిన నగధరుని విడజల, పన్నగధరుని విడజల, అన్యమెరుగకయున్న నాతో, అన్యమెరుగకయున్న నాతో చిన్ని వార్తలు పలుకకే, అన్యమెరుగకయున్న నాతో చిన్ని వార్తలు పలుకకే, విడువజాలనే విష్ణు భక్తిని తల్లి.
There is another important thing in the choreography of Kuchipudi Bhagavathulu, that is Manodharma. So the artist would perform their roles on the stage as per their Manodharma. So the improvisation of the performance was at the discretion of the performer, depending upon the understanding of the character, understanding of the situation, and understanding of the content and context, and also the spontaneity and his skill and knowledge on music, dance, and rhythm. So they had scope for Manodharma. So they had the liberty to play the spontaneously on the stage. But modern day performances are highly time bound and structured with fixed repetitions. So the performer has to follow the choreography strictly. Not only the performer, the teacher, the singer, and the orchestra players, everyone has to follow those fixed repetitions. So there was no deviations generally takes place. But in olden days, there was a lot of scope for spontaneity, flexibility, and that independent performance. So that is lacking in modern day performances. Now I have to follow the time, so I come to the conclusion. So in this way, Kuchipudi Bhagavathulu developed the performance script, and they composed the dance where there was a scope for nritya, and they focused on abhinaya where there's a scope for satvika abhinaya. And the Kuchipudi Bhagavathulu strictly follow the Adi Mangalam, Antya Mangalam, as Sumitra says. So they end their performance with Antya Mangalam. So with this, I conclude my talk. Thank you so much. Thank you to Vivekananda University for giving this golden opportunity, and my sincere gratitude to Raja sir and Papu Venugopal sir and Yashoda ma'am, and my sincere thanks to Anupamaka and Sumitra for their coordination and cooperation. Thank you so much to all.
Thank you, Yamini Garu. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful topic and very well covered by Dr. Anupama Garu, Dr. Sumitra Garu, and you, Dr. Yamini Garu. Thank you very much. And we can open it up for questions now or comments. Anybody want to say anything? In the participants panel, you have the raise hand feature. Please raise hand, and then and I will say your name, and then you could ask the question or make the comment. Anyone who wants to say anything or have questions? Now go ahead, Yashoda Garu.
Okay. So, first of all, congratulations to my colleagues. Very well covered, bringing the Yakshaganam from the broadest perspective and narrowing it down to Kuchipudi. Very, very well done from all perspectives. just also wanted to mention what we do at the university, because Yakshagana is covered comprehensively by both of you, and now Yamini too. We have done this work at the university where we do the lesser known Yakshaganas of other marginalized communities, which do, like Alekhya has done a master's thesis on the Kadapa Yakshagana, and then seeing if all the tenets of Yakshagana are a part of it. Just wanted to mention it for the benefit of those who are not aware of what's happening at the university. One. And Sumi, one question I had for you was, would you connect the music of Yakshagana to the Natyashastra Yakshagana or to the Desi Yakshagana, like Desi music? I mean, the Natyashastra music or the Desi music? Just a thought, you don't have to reply now, but just a thought. Because if you go by Anupama, it goes into the indigenous anthropological development of music, which eventually came there. And the point about Yamini saying Kuchipudi Bhagavatalu creating social awareness through Yakshagana is very beautiful, very apt. Like every performance genre at that time, every theatre genre, that gives you the very purpose of art in society, where you connect with society and you have your purpose there. So Kuchipudi Yakshagana also followed that. Just an addition to what you said. I have no comments about this. Thank you again.
Yeah, to answer your question, Yashoda, so when I talk about the Natya Shastra, I'm talking about the musical aspects that were explained by Bharata and how Kuchipudi people have adopted into the Yakshaganas. And Anu has explained about the Desi formats, that the literary aspects. The singing part, yes, we confine to Carnatic music style itself. So we are talking about the musicality and application of the music part of it. So when it comes to the text, as Anu rightly said, we have used, Desi Chandas formats. So it's the Desi literature singing in Carnatic music. And as to add on to Yamini what she says, even in Prahlada Natakam, Vedanta Radheshyam Garu and other people, they have adopted Nanduri Subbarao Garu's Enki songs, and whatever they feel like it's good for that, they have adopted Kshetre Padams and they're presenting it in Bhama Kalapam. Like the literature part of it, whatever they feel that it's good for the presentation to entertain the audience, they have adopted it. For example, you have that Singi Singadu element in many of the Yakshaganas. For Singi Singadu, they have adopted Enki songs. Because Enki songs are of 20th century, whereas the Singi Singadu was introduced in 17th century itself. This is an introductory song for the Singi and Singadu, but that they have adopted it into Prahlada as a entry of this snake charmers, the wife and husband of the snake charmers. Like that, we cannot fix the Kuchipudi Yakshagana, be it literature or music or choreography, as Yamini rightly said. They have that liberty to expand their performance by all means.
Thank you, Sumitra Garu. There's a question or a comment from Dr. Padma Sugavanam Garu. Please go ahead, madam.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me for my singing, Padma Garu.
No, not at all. It was lovely. First of all, let me start off by saying it was a very enlightening evening for me, and I learned so much about Yakshagana. I thank all of you for such a wonderful presentation. I had one question. Anupama Garu mentioned the connection between Dhruva Gana and later on Dhruva, the Darvus that came later on and which are also used in the Kuchipudi Yakshaganas. I would like to know, because my understanding of the Dhruva Gana is that it is more just musical composition, and Dhruva Ganas were not necessarily enacted upon stage. Is my understanding of the Dhruva Ganas, and do you have any information on maybe how it became an enacted composition, and probably how it how and when it transformed into the Darvu? Just if there's any information on this, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think actually Sumitra can answer this better, but I'll just put my 2 pence first. See, because the Dhruva Ganam is part of the kind of performance structures of songs that are part of Nataka or Natya. So therefore, if it is a part of Natya, it is meant to be performed. And it says that the entries of the characters must be presented through the Praveshika. The exit of the characters must be presented through the Naishkramika Dhruva. So now Dhruva is a word that has occurred in many contexts. Dhruva has occurred in the context of Prabandha, and Prabandha itself is a word that has occurred in the context of literature and music. So the particular Dhruvam that we refer to in Jayadeva's Ashtapadis, or the Dhruva Padam that we refer to from the musical context, and the Dhruva Gana that we refer to from the Natashastra, all have different connotations.
Yes.
So from the point of view of the Natashastra, the Dhruva Ganam is definitely a performance format because it specifically talks about dialogues, through song between characters. It speaks about entries, it speaks about exits, it speaks about interludes, links, and other things. And since it is applicable to Natya, it is definitely a performance aspect. But I
Thank you
know
very
the
much.
confusion there, Padma, because there is many other aspects. There are many other aspects to the word Dhruva. So if
Right.
Sumitra wants to add something to that, she could add something.
No, as you rightly said, Anu, Dhruva Ganam is of two types. One is the performative element, what we are talking about, and the other one, based on the chandas and the other things, what they have to follow, rhythmic patterns and all. So probably the music people are learning that particular part of Dhruva, and we have confined only to the performative element here. So that's where maybe Padma got confused.
Thank you very much. This was very enlightening. Thank you so much for the explanation.
Thank you, Padma.
Thank you, Sumitra Garu, and thank you, Anupama Garu. And Dr. Padma Garu is a professor in our Carnatic Music Department of University of Silkanandra. So it's wonderful to see everybody, getting deep into the subject. I like it. And I know a lot of the, attendees today are enjoying the talk today. So any more questions from anybody, please? We can probably take one or two more questions if they have any.
The most important thing is only the professors from University of Silkanandra are posing questions.
No,
sir,
yeah,
like
can we just...
Yeah, Ramagaru, go ahead.
No, I'm not questioning anybody. As a senior, because they all are younger to me, I just want to tell the audience who are watching this webinar about the Yakshagana. Now you must be having an idea what the subjects we are teaching. Though the subjects looks very common like Yakshagana or whatever the other papers courses we are offering, but the depth of the subject, now you will be understanding. So there are so many others who are not students of our university. So I'm just telling them, please utilize this golden opportunity by joining our university and gaining knowledge. That's what I want to tell everybody. Because
thank you, Ramagaru.
Here I am the oldest.
Ramagaru, thank you very much. So any more questions? If not, we will, we will close this.
I had seen a question in the chat box. So does anyone have a question? Can you just articulate it? But I don't remember. I can't find it now because there are so many.
I think Nitya Golapadi was asking about the Ardis and the Jatis for the Sabdams and all.
In the Shabdam, I replied.
What was it? Nitya, can you just state your question?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, thank you so much, Sumitra ma'am and Anupama ma'am, for revisiting our composers course, all of it again in just under 1.5 hours. So my question was to Sumitra ma'am. While doing the course also, I learned that the Sabdams are very special in a way because they always start with a jati, like a song, like a tune, like dam dana dim dimi takita takadam dana dim dimi. There's a tune for it. So is this because Sabdams also have their roots in Yakshaganams, and Yakshaganam have this something called Ardhi format that you just talked about, ma'am?
No, as Yamini rightly said, in between as an interlude between two episodes, they used to perform this Dasavatara Sabdam and other Sabdams, but I'm not sure whether the Ramayana Sabdam, what you're referring to, was performed or not. Maybe depending upon the situation, probably they might have performed. I cannot tell you that, they have performed. But Dasavatara Sabdam, yes, for sure they have performed it. And
I
even
can-
in
I can also
Matrabhuta Kavi's Paryata Paranam also, you find this Dasavatara Sabdam quite a number of times, not once or twice, probably more than 6-7 times he repeated this Dasavatara Sabdam.
Yes, actually, you are right to some extent, Nitya, also, because a lot of the Tanjavur Yakshaganam start with Shabdams also, because, the Shabdam gives you the whole story of the entire Natakam in a nutshell, right at the beginning. So like you have Prahlada Pattabhisheka Shabdam, which is performed in the beginning of the Prahlada Natakam of Melatur. So Melatur Venkatrama Shastri's, the Prahlada Natakam starts with the Prahlada Pattabhisheka Shabdam, which gives you the story in a nutshell. So if you feel that, the Kolavimpu that she was talking about or the other aspects have found its way into the Shabdam through the Yakshaganam, that is also a probable presumption. Because if you see Vasantika Parinayam or Valli Kalyanam or any of the Tanjavur Yakshaganams, lot of them begin with the summarization through the Shabdam.
That's what we are calling it as Prastavana also, no?
Yeah, but it's clearly a Shabdam format with the, with the two, or the Salam Darbu format also, if it is a historical Shabdam. So this is a common feature actually, not only to Tanjavur Yakshaganam, but to all Yakshaganam, Dasi Bhagavatam, Zata Bhagavatams, all formats have this summary in the beginning. So probably that could be an effect of that, aspect.
Ma'am, but the question was about the tune, the ardhi. Sumitra ma'am said that ardhi is something where you sing the jati in a tune, like like tune. So most of the sabdams that we do, like Krishna sabdam, Ramayana sabdam, Dasavatara sabdam, also have a tune jatis. So that also goes to ardhi.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying it could be because of the Yakshaganam format. It could be because of the influence of Yakshaganam format or the Shabdam being used as a methodology to introduce the entire Yakshaganam. So that could be the reason why you have that element. I think
And you can see this feature only in Kuchipudi. In Bharatanatyam, when they're doing the Shabdam, they don't sing in tune, no?
You can see this feature in every Yakshagana format.
No, I'm telling in Bharatanatyam and other dance forms, when they're doing Shabdam, they don't render the jati in the tune. Only in Kuchipudi Shabdams, all the jatis, I mean, throughout the jatis, in between two lines, wherever the jatis are coming.
Ledandi, that's not so, because when you see Sarasijakshilu Jalakamade in Swati Tirunal, when they do it in Bharatanatyam, they will say the jati portion also in music. Yeah, but the pattern is different. The Shabdam is a much slower paced and a much slower composition in Bharatanatyam. In Kuchipudi, it follows the typical format of the methodology is different.
Okay, the origin is the same, right?
Andalo kuda taateyya tei tatam kidadaka tatam ane start avutundi. It's also sung.
So we will move forward, madam. Sorry to interrupt. We have one more question, and that will be the final question for the day. And Dr. Padma Garu wants to have one more question. Padma Garu, go ahead, madam.
Thank you. I just have one question. So, in the light of the background of all these yakshaganas, where they came from, like you said, in the Nayak period in Tanjavur, Tyagaraja Swami also, since he lived at the same time, he composed the Prahlada Bhakti Vijayam and the Nauka Charitram. How much of that would you say is in the yakshagana? Because we call it a Geya Nataka, not a yakshagana, though it has all these many of the characteristics, like you say, the Dauvari Kudu he comes and introduces the initial characters. There are Pravesha Darus, there are Sisapadya, Kandapadya, so many of the features that you discussed. How much of Yakshagana do you think Tyagaraja Swami's Geya Natakas also have, and why do you think they are called Geya Natakas and not Yakshaganas?
Prahlada Bhakta Vijayam is undoubtedly a Yakshaganam, Padma, because it has all the features of the Yakshaganam. But the reason why you do not call it a Yakshaganam is because of the popular assumption that when you say Yakshaganam, then it becomes a Desi format and that it's not classical, quote unquote. So because of that, you want to convert it and call it a Geya Natakam. But the Nauka Charitram is more an operatic ballad, but the Prahlada Bhakta Vijayam is definitely in the Yakshagana format. Just as Krishna Lila Tarangini of Narayana Tirtha is in a Yakshagana format, even though we don't want to call it a Yakshaganam, we still call it, we still call it a musical opera or a musical ballad, because we do not find the components of Desi Yakshaganam in it. So you are not really calling it a Yakshaganam. But the format is undoubtedly that of a Yakshaganam. And when we talk about Prahalada Bhakta Vijayam in dance syllabus, we call it a Yakshaganam.
Okay, because I have never heard anybody in the music circles call it a Yakshagana, and it has all the features that you discussed today, which was why I had that doubt. Thank you very much.
That's why we call it a Yakshaganam, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. Dr. Amy, you want to say anything or any comment?
No, I'm just fascinated. I learned so much today. I had no idea that they were yakshaganas of the outsiders that one of you mentioned. That's very interesting. I'd like to know more about that one day, perhaps.
Certainly. Thank you, Dr. Amy. And Dr. Amy is one of our board of trustees at the University of Silkanandra. She is a professor at UCLA, and she has done a lot of research. And then, in the Indian folk music, she travels extensively in India and then does wonderful things. So many documentaries she has, and so we are very happy to have Dr. Amy in our board. Thank you, Dr. Amy.
You're most welcome. And I want to just mention that I have recordings from 1938 from
wow.
Yes, recordings and some films, and they've never been restudied. We made a film restudying those recordings in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka. And I've been back to Karnataka and back to Kerala to continue, because that work was done in 1984, our first restudy. And I'm dying for someone to take up the challenge of taking these recordings back to Andhra, repatriating them and studying them and finding out how they can be used.
Thank you, Dr. Amy. It's wonderful to have you as part of the University of Silkanandra team. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Kuchipudi department, everybody, and all the alumni who joined us today. Thank you. It's very good to see you all. And we have faculty here from other departments as well. Carnatic music, Telugu, Sanskrit. It's wonderful to have all of you. So please kindly spread the word. Our fall 2020 semester starts in about a month's time. So please spread the word, and I hope many more students can take advantage of the amazing coursework that we have at this university. Thank you. Good night. We will see you again next week, same time with a different topic. Namaskaram.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.